Just want to start this by saying that if your comments about how Aizen should have won or about how he was downplayed or whatever, then you're wasting your time because I do not care. With that out of the way, Madara vs Aizen's dropped, an episode similar to Heihachi vs Geese where I knew borderline nothing about these characters, but I was excited to learn about them. And while I'd usually open these Season 8 reviews with some kind of review to previous episodes to celebrate the Legacy season, in this case it would have been Naruto vs Ichigo as it's our only other Naruto vs Bleach episode, I want to jump straight into Madara vs Aizen this time because there is a lot for me to go over. Not just with the review itself, but also with the next time and the reaction highlight reel which ended up being the longest one of the season. So starting with the analyses, I enjoyed it quite a lot. I still don't understand half of the Naruto or Bleach jargon that they were using, but that's fine, I got the gist of what I was supposed to. And learning about these two stories was pretty cool. I was worried going in that this analysis would be very cookie cutter with all the shit we've seen for these series before. More so for Madara since Aizen's series has only appeared one other time, but for me Naruto analyses tend to blend together and they all go in one ear and out the other. They all make sure to mention the Moon Slice or the Moon Hole and the Light Fang for the higher tiers, and for the lower tiers it's always the Jiraiya mountain carving and Kakashi slicing a lightning bolt. Gaara's happened too early to fall into that trap, Naruto and Jiraiya's I don't mind as much because they were the ones that introduced these things, but everything from Sasuke onwards has felt like this checklist of feats to bring up that makes them all kinda repetitive. Not that that's the fault of Death Battle, but it means the stat side of these analyses would all blur together even when the rest of them were good. So in a similar way to how I appreciate Akuma vs Shao Kahn for breaking that exact same trend for Mortal Kombat, I like that Madara's analysis doesn't mention any of the stuff on that checklist. Aside from the Light Fang, but that's his move, you kinda have to bring it up. But even then, they bring up other stuff to further back up light timing for him. The Meteor Calc also got a way different result to Sasuke vs Hiei, and the God Tree made it so that both Moon Calcs were pretty much irrelevant. On top of that, both rundowns had stellar editing and good jokes. I don't much care for Boomstick's how do you do fellow kids talk, but other than that, can't complain. Especially when Madara's analysis has probably my favourite cutaway of the season. And the animation, well, it doesn't start too great. In fact, when the preview came out, I was worried this was gonna suck. Madara's sprite looked great, Aizen's face looked a little weird but it was otherwise fine. These sprites were good at a standstill, then they started moving and it feels like we're back in Season 7 in terms of stiff movements. Though at least they're not using the smears in place of every single pose change. The jank was the only thing throwing me off though, other than the odd lack of setup. I mean, Madara just attacks Aizen out of the blue and that's all we get. But there was some good stuff as well. The start to the track sounded pretty good. I already mentioned that I like Madara's sprite quite a bit, and these voice performances are both great. Nicholas Andrew Louis hadn't showed up in a bit, but I am so glad he made his return as Madara. This was a great chance for him to further flex his vocal range. And Philip Sacramento continues to probably be my favourite VA they've introduced this season. Between Yoda, Akuma, and now Aizen, all three of his performances have been excellent. All I've got to go on for how these characters should sound is their end clips, and they both sound pretty spot on. Throughout the entire fight there was not a single line read I dislike on either side. Still, the jank of the preview had me worried, but then they were still hyping the episode up with stuff like, this is the tamest it gets all fight, it gets crazy literally 2 seconds after the preview, which left me cautiously optimistic. And well, they were right, the rest of the animation is nuts. Immediately after the preview we get our first of many fake out deaths, and then Madara reveals it to be an illusion. And skipping around for a second, I like how this fight escalates with Aizen and Madara both transforming once to gain the physical advantage. Then with Aizen's final transformation they're roughly on even footing when trading attacks back and forth, though Madara still wins in hand to hand to reflect their conclusion of him being the stronger of the two. He gets to break one of Aizen's shields as well, which I'm sure is meant to be him absorbing it to bypass it, though it could also be another showing of his strength edge by just powering through it. The transformation scenes are admittedly nothing overly special, like, they're good but none stand out as my favourites of the season, but I do still appreciate them being given time to sink in, unlike with Naruto vs Ichigo where it feels like they're on a mission to speedrun everything. I mean, this one kinda does that in a different way since I'm told Aizen skips some forms which he is incapable of doing normally, but guess who hasn't read more than one volume of Bleach and doesn't have enough investment to be annoyed by that? My favourite reveal of the fight, maybe even my favourite part of the animation in general actually, isn't even a transformation. It's Madara summoning the big fuck off meteor. Both that and the black coffin were dropped way earlier than I expected. And the way Madara drops it so nonchalantly with sound design in the same tier as He-Man tossing the mountain, fucking incredible. I wish they could have worked on a second one right behind it to catch Aizen off guard, but again I am not too bothered. Whether they couldn't because of time constraints, or they just didn't want to tread ground too similar to the 1 minute melee, I am not losing a lick of sleep over it. From this point on there are smaller meteor chunks all throughout the arena, and I think they do well to further set the fight's more chaotic tone as it goes along. And then the next segment gets to flex this fight's incredible hand-drawn stuff. Well, mostly. The Susanoo looks great and the Hado 99 is well drawn, though the frame rate in its initial summoning is even worse in that one shot in Dio vs Alucard. It's much more noticeable here because of the more dynamic pose changes. Thankfully it's much better in the next bit where Madara fights it off with his Limbo clones. I also like his line right after with him just loving the thrill of a good battle as they both start cackling with the cool split screen hand drawn close-ups. And Madara's even casting his Genjutsu in this scene, which is something I missed on my first viewing. And still would if it wasn't pointed out to me because I do not know shit about visual tells for their abilities. I didn't even initially notice the Sharingan pupils when they were on Aizen. But yeah, and we get 2 fake outs at the end, and as much as I wish there was a more constant back and forth with a ton of fake outs, this still kept me guessing with the 2 that we got. With how close this match was and how well the fake outs were done, I could not tell at any point if things were actually over. Also, I picked up on this shot being a reference to Madara's betrayal in canon since they showed that clip in the analysis. The actual Aizen death is good, though admittedly it leaves me kind of underwhelmed. I don't know, maybe it's because of the small scale of it or because I expected Aizen to come back, especially given there are still parts of them there to regenerate from. It's not a bad finisher by any means, just not one of my favourites. You know what is one of my favourites though? The track. Brandon Yates says this is the best one he's ever done, and I can't say I'd object if anyone else said that. It's not my favourite of all time, Mighty still holds that spot, but in terms of this season, yeah, this is it. It doesn't complement the fight as perfectly as Hearts of Light, but as a song on its own, this is probably my favourite the season's given us. It might just be my second favourite vocal track they've ever done. This is just everything I could want in a track and then some. It's high energy, it's catchy, it's endlessly re-listenable. I love it so much that I listened to it more than 10 times before the episode came out. I have never done that before with any other death battle tracks. It's just stunning, plain and simple. Oh yeah, the conclusion as well. I liked it. Do I care if it's accurate? Not in the slightest, as long as they're internally consistent. Bottom line is, they say stats are close to even, and they focus on abilities without the underlying character A is 5,000 times stronger and faster than character B. So the fun kind of analysis basically. This episode is so good, man. It doesn't capture me to the same extent Dio vs Alucard did, not even close, and it does have its issues. The animation has a few minor errors here and there, like Aizen's wings being missing or Madara not moving his mouth when he speaks. But really, the only parts of the fight that jump out at me as actively bad are this choppy shot of the Hado 99 and, well, the entire start of the fight having no setup and borderline Season 7 tier jank. They both get significantly better after the preview ends, but Madara's the only one where after that point I have no issues with his rigging. Aizen's bad moments don't come down to really a fault of the death battle team. His design is just inherently one that's going to be janky in these kind of puppet rigs. His outfit covering his legs for most of the battle means you can't really have them move independently. Everything below his torso has to just come together in one big block. His final form fixes that issue, but he also has those wings which feel kinda static. Again, not much the death battle team can really do about that, it's just an unavoidable problem that Aizen runs into with sprite rigs. Man, I love this episode. Easy 8 out of 10 that I can totally see climbing up to a 9 as it sinks in more. I don't love it quite as much as Might Guy or Kakashi's episodes, but this leaves pretty much every other Naruto episode in the dust for me. And you know what the crazy thing is? I almost forgot about this episode happening within 5 minutes of my first viewing, because the next time is Saitama vs Popeye, which is the most hyped I have been for a versus episode since Mob vs Tatsumaki back in season 6. Is this a colossal mismatch? Absolutely. Is it super thematic? Not particularly. Am I still excited? Absolutely. It feels so surreal that this match is even happening. When I saw Saitama I was gutted because I was sure he'd be against Goku or Superman, but no, we're getting a new series that's our first real classic cartoon character. Not counting Scrooge McDuck, whose episode focused more on his comics without getting into his Toon Force bullshit. Popeye is such a big deal for the show to use, and while I have no personal connection to him myself, I'm ecstatic that they're using him. And he's not even the main reason I'm excited. I expected to go through this entire season with Yoda being my favourite character they used, and then they dropped Poe. There are so few characters I like more than Poe, and I didn't think any of them had a shot of getting used this season. But Saitama's not only my favourite character of Season 8, not just my favourite character Death Battle's ever used, but my favourite fictional character of all time from my #1 favourite series. And the fact that he's not fighting Goku or Superman, what more could I want? It's not got a Bible's worth of connections, but I'd argue its core theme of comically overpowered characters who can bullshit their way out of any physical problem with their fists alone, to the point where the Versus community built them both up as unbeatable gods, is enough of a core theme to carry things. I was actually on Nem's prediction for this match, because even though I don't do Versus at all, I still know enough to get the general idea that Saitama is about to get his shit rocked, and I'm okay with that. If you've got 2 hours to spare, then you can listen to the full prediction, which I'll link in the description when it comes out. Not that it needed 2 hours hours to go into why Popeye wins. Me, Nem, and Donovan just had a regular conversation for a couple hours, and occasionally we chime in with Popeye feats. Is there anything in particular I want for it besides for it to be good and have a fittingly banger track? Well, I'd want there to be a good sense of escalation. Have casual Saitama beat Popeye's shit in, who then goes for his spinach. Then Saitama could take it away from him, but give it back upon hearing it would make Popeye stronger in the hopes that he could give him a good fight. From there on, I'd want them to go all in with cartoony bullshit. Have Popeye punch Saitama out of his outline, then send his outline flying back into him. He could punch Saitama so hard he turns into a sausage, but Saitama's able to punch his way out. Have him send Saitama across continents, who then lands in front of a payphone which he picks up, and Popeye punches him through it. But that's when Saitama gets serious and plants his feet to stop himself from getting sent back as he grabs Popeye's arm, yanks him through the phone, and slams him into the ground. Have them clash fists and change the animation style, or even break the animation itself. Take the fight to the moon since they both have scenes associated with it. Have Saitama explain his training regimen and then ask Popeye how he got so strong, only for Popeye to respond with, "I eats me spinach." They could have a final clash that fucks up Saitama's arm, but Popeye's arm gets completely blown off, and Saitama takes him out there and then. But Popeye's able to threaten the animator into giving his dead body more spinach to bring him back into peak physical condition to finish the now injured Saitama. Then have an interaction similar to the one in Dio vs Alucard, but with Popeye's "I am what I am and that's all what I am" catchphrase as his response. If they can make that sound cool like what they did with Mario and Naruto's iconic lines, I'll be so happy. I'll be happy with the episode regardless anyway. There's so much you can do with this animation. I don't expect them to do all or even any of the specific things I mentioned really. There are just scenes I think could be cool. I look forward to seeing what they do end up deciding to do with the match. DJ says he thinks I'll give this episode a 10 out of 10 when it comes around, which I don't doubt. They usually hit it out of the park with their finales, and this is the one I've had the most investment in. I've also been told to avoid any and all previews, so hopefully I won't give in to the urge to watch those. I should probably wrap this up here because there's still the very long highlight reel to go through. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review, go watch Nem's one as well. See you next time when I hopefully get to gush about the episode with my favourite character.
I want everyone to know that this is what we do before Gush Battles. We just watch this episode.
No, because it's so easy.
Oh, this is a really nice start to the fight.
Oh, wait!
Go on! The decapitation.
I can't believe
that happened. Fuck!
No!
Oh, yeah, Jump Wars! My favorite video game. That was
didn't you get it?
Lovely.
Didn't you get it for your birthday, Max?
I did get it for my birthday because I was like, holy shit, Light Yagami? Yes, please. And he didn't do a goddamn thing.
Wow, Madara's short. He's not even 6'10". I mean, 6
I
foot.
am taller than Madara Uchiha.
I mean, is there really anyone who can beat, let alone touch Madara Uchiha?
I know, right?
SpongeBob.
Enough.
Yeah, get him, Madara. You.
There's a better J-Stars game with him in it.
Yeah, let's go Jump Force.
If I don't see that Naruto moon clip, I'm gonna flip.
Yeah, where's the Naruto moon? Come on.
Yo!
That was gold.
That's pretty cool.
This is a base analysis. I really like this.
J-Stars victory versus.
Hashirama
I forgot about his Hashirama.
Oh my god! Oh my god, yeah, he's got a face on his boob. What the fuck? Oh my god! Isn't that right, kids? Okay, no doubt when they do Mickey vs. Bugs, Bugs becomes Big Chungus in the animation. 100%. That's what happens. 100%.
God, this editing is so good. I don't even mind like the Big Chungus.
Yeah, I don't mind. It's fine. If you need to put Big Chungus in your video, you need to put that word there. Oh my god! Oh my god! It's always sunny now. Oh my god!
I love Ben's delivery of this line.
I know Wiz was such a big fan of Naruto. Damn.
He did do Naruto running as a kid.
Naruto lure any percent speed.
Because he did it again.
You're right, it didn't.
He's so happy.
Okay, I like this. I like this. Yeah.
Wiz is like so happy right now.
This is like my favorite Naruto analysis period.
This is pretty good.
Oh, Boomstick wins.
Wow, that's good. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard Wiz give that much energy to a line delivery, or Ben to a line delivery.
That's one of the best.
I think that is.
Minato?
Minato? Oh, God. Oh, they're getting bullied for that line. They're getting bullied.
I hate
Set the programmer's gonna send them multiple death threats for calling him Minato.
Go on, show us the moon.
Yeah, they don't. He scales above it. I don't don't even think they need to bring it up.
No,
I
but they
will-
need to.
I will scream if there is no min.
No, that's above the man. No.
Except for shots now.
You can reference that they referenced.
Never mind, 10 out of 10.
I'm the exact same height as Aizen, huh?
Oh shit, Donovan.
Yo, Donovan, you would have a fair fight with Aizen.
I would not.
Speak down to me. I could be Aizen from Bleach. Speak down to me.
Donovan, you're
He's to teach calligraphy. What a fucking nerd.
If we're going by who's taller wins, then it's a
He
stand.
just does look like a Discord mod. Like, I'm sorry.
Aizen is
why would you
Discord
say
mod.
that?
I know, Brandon. Here's a question. How many body pillows?
And
do
what
you-
made you think
how
that's
many body pillows do
okay?
you think Aizen owns?
I can't
That's cool,
unsee it.
actually.
Aizen the Discord
Dude.
mod.
Shut up.
He would totally buy an
I
NFT.
Don't.
Oh yeah, yeah, he would 100%.
He probably makes NFTs.
Oh,
Trying to be my
absolutely.
little Discord kitten.
All the Shinigami are just NFTs to him. He's gotta collect them all.
Man, this man looks like a substitute teacher you'd see in like a fucking Disney Channel live action sitcom.
Who wants to be my little Discord kitten?
He's not.
That's why they're fighting. Madara made like that huge ass tree
He's
while
not the fun
Aizen is like
substitute
destroying
teacher, though, actually.
trees with his NFTs.
He sends you to the other VC.
He gets some complete control over the Discord chats. He can ban you for no reason at all.
And get away with it.
Aizen's ultimate.
He's the kind of
move
person
is
to see like, hey guys, my grandma passed away. He's like, post this in vent.
Oh my god! Oh my fucking god!
Yeah,
no.
Ichigo, stop trauma dumping in general.
Yeah, when's Slenderman getting on Death Battle?
Today.
Never.
He's in the next time. He's in the next episode.
Someone's gonna fight Freddy Fazbear finally.
No, Freddy Fazbear fights Sans. Come on now.
Get this guy off my screen. I don't like him. He can blow up the
Oh, yeah, I
UK.
understand your disappointment.
Please, please.
Fucking
Aizen.
please.
Get rid of Scotland.
I'm so sorry.
Actually, if Aizen can blow up the UK, he's the hero. He's the true hero.
Yeah, Aizen's the hero. Even if he's a Discord mod, he's the hero we never did.
Well, that's the thing is he didn't do it. Kenpachi did.
Oh, Kenpachi's based on that.
Yeah.
Never mind,
Kenpachi is beast. Kenpachi is the only good beast
Epic.
character.
I don't know who's gonna win because there is no general consensus on this. This is the most split anyone's been on an episode in so long.
Oh, I haven't even heard anyone say that Aizen could win. I've just been hearing Madara the whole
The
time.
majority on the community blog was Madara was gonna win, but there are people who are saying Aizen.
It was a
wins.
4-3 split.
Yeah.
On the
Alright.
on the
From now on.
I'm rooting for Madara. I think he
He's
looks-
licking his
I
hair
can-
back.
Aizen seems like the underdog, but Madara seems more interesting as a character here.
Ah!
Fucking hell! Stop! Stop with jump force!
Oh my god.
Yo.
Oh my god!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Get over.
The episode ends there.
This is already.
Oh yeah, Aizen's small.
Down.
What are you gonna do about the second one, idiot?
I'm really liking this fight so far.
Yeah!
You mean the dragon?
Oh, the dragons!
Shit!
The Coom Dragons, let's go!
Yo, he's surfing on the cum dog.
Shut up.
Actually, stop. Oh, this is face there. Ooh!
They're both just having a
Oh, I
blast.
like that.
Yeah, they're enjoying this though.
Oh, shit!
Aizen!
Oh!
Come on.
Actually?
Is this it?
Hold on.
Me?
Damn.
I actually don't know.
No, it's still going.
Oh my god.
Nah, this guy's
Oh,
sad.
shit.
No way.
Oh, that actually had me there. That's crazy.
Is that it? I
can't
actually
tell.
can't tell.
Where's
I can't fucking tell.
Alright, I think that's it.
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I can't. Okay,
Yeah, that's
cool.
it. Hey.
Oh my god.
Yo.
It had us there.
They had me there. I'm not gonna
Nice.
lie.
I mean,
I was almost happy.
100.
and not one of my
They did that-
favorites, but
they
that
did
was pretty
just to
good.
mess with
I
Hunter.
really enjoyed that.
Competition's really steep this season, but this was really good.
Yo, the kind of analysis I like.
The
not who
fun
can hit harder.
versus. Ooh.
I hope
have
Bleach
no
never
idea.
gets a W. That will make me so happy.
I'm terrified what
I
this next
forgot
time
there was
will
gonna
be.
be a next time. I've just been enjoying the episodes. Like, completely slipped my mind.
I'm terrified. I'm so afraid.
Why are y'all scared?
Can
Why
the
y'all
winner's
scared
screen
me?
for Madara be a Jump Force clip?
Please.
I think I got my expectations up too high. I don't expect anything.
Right, watch it. It's gonna be like Homelander, Omni-Man.
I like that they're
Madara,
explaining this in
James.
depth because apparently you guys said this was like a close one between people.
Yeah. Oh God.
Alright.
What did you want us all here for, DJ?
I just genuinely found the aftermath really interesting.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Alright, here we go.
I'm just chilling. I am chilling.
Right, here we
Wait,
go.
shut up and show us
Here
the
we
finale.
go.
No!
Oh, God.
No!